It's Friday. It's June 22nd, 2023. Um, I am. Apparently, they came out with some. Like, they had the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I saw that. I really wasn't impressed. Like, again, nothing. Again, I'm not critiquing his talents, but script writing, and like, whatever. Um, and so I was not really a big enthusiast in watching this next gen version of Spider-Man when it came out. I mean, like, I'm not following this crap. Now I'm realizing just how pertinent the details are and the signage. Again, I see the fish with the lemon head. I see they portrayed this Spider-Man this time as more of like a luchador. I'm like sitting in 2023 going, you had me in 2012 in bad management, sitting with some South, like County Kerry, South Irish prick who's not of my caste, my class, or my breeding whatever. In 2010, come bother me as blacksmith meeting spot, for which Crazy Donkey knew I had no idea what was going on and that they were after me. But I see a whole lot of airbags. Almost like if you have a car, they've done this. They put a safety feature in with an airbag. Looks more like a publicity, like a band aid. Again, like when you're like in just like if you're as important to the humans as like the mother of Jesus, and like not getting into like did we disrespect ourselves with a teenage pregnancy and all that stuff that nobody even deserves an answer. But again, I'm pretty sure like at the John the Baptist, like if John the Baptist and Jesus were stepbrothers for like bigger family fettered issues, some of these details might be really important, especially since you got my cosmic arrangement all wrong. Then I'm looking at who's seated at this 2012 Spider-Man table. So cozy. Looks like the president of the Benevolent Association I shook hands with the other day at the Memorial Day parade. And then it looks like, oh, what a teddy bear was. I mean, I got the Roosevelt looking ear, not to like whatever. Um, Dad's walking back with David. Bless his heart. I'm so glad he's walking with David again. I find out he's part of Strategic Command. And I'm like, oh my God, now you are the person to ask. I was like, is it still safe and honorable to say you've met with the president? I was like, because again, it's really confusing in this area if that's an honor bestowed upon the, like, and safe to even mention. I'm like, I mean, talk about a crazy life. Like, and then I realized in this Spider-Man movie that they put out, again, they have, like, I knew a very different Adams back when I was growing up, Lloyd Harbor, and they named one of the characters, not that she was as wonderful as this actress. This actress has a very different demeanor to her, whatever, the other Gwen, I was not a big fan of. However, and that was like abundantly clear. Like, just some people, you just can't, like, you just say nothing. So I say nothing. However, um, I'm watching this and I'm realizing, like, they make it about a biogenic thing. I get that. But then there's this cosmically relatable thing with quantum strings and Uh, then there's this Norwegian or Scandinavian looking symbol. And they have a formula in there about zero decay. And I'm wondering then why at zero decay between Jesus's importance to the Christians and, let's just say, John the Baptist to the Elizabethans. I mean, again, I'm named after something to do with victory. Just a Victoria Day and Victor Day, Victory Day. Like, I mean, ooh, it's like on the razor's edge, and there's just so much. And then I see they came out with the same actor from the 2012 Spider-Man. He was in something called Under the Banner of Heaven, and I'm like, oh, right, Banner. Now that's a Marvel superhero Hulk's reference. Just, so here we are at, watching this with a keen eye. I see several of the house that the Knights of Columbus problem built into my very real life. And I'm like, right, spider, let's chase that one for a minute. Okay, so spiders at global financiers have to do with ETFs. That goes against the standard of operation. Like I get, and then it goes off of an index of the Standard and Poor. I was like, wow, isn't that interesting? A GOD held at a Standard and Poor, so you can make billionaires out of nobodies. They're not even cosmically relevant at quantifiable results at, like, say, a CERN concerned level. Because I do see that they made another Spider-Man movie about some dark-skinned Spider-Man, and they have in that one the CERN Hadron Collider, and I'm like, oof, that is gonna be, I mean, as far as these global spiders and this ETF, electronic transfer of funds, and then you have the royalties going to all sorts of things that don't have a cosmic connection to anything that I've ever known. I mean, again, for my genetic RH type, they classify me here as RH negative. That seems very problematic at ETFs and spiders and global financiers and operations. So they've left some band-aids in the field. Um, So I'm just chasing some of the details, marking on my own behalf what I see, what looks problematic. I mean, it shouldn't be for me. I'm the GOD that someone stuck in a basket of Standard and Poor 500 index while they're doing like SEC things and ETF things and treasonous things, and then like confusing domestic policy with foreign hotspots and hotbeds. And then, like, I don't know how they're aligning themselves, but it looks like a real hot mess. So here we are. What does the scene look like at some family dinner table? Because I'm pretty sure the Teddy that I knew growing up, who used to get bullied all the time and grew into something I hear commendable, knows who and how I was and what the school facility was up to, because he was there for a while and then he got taken out, and I don't know where they moved him, but I never saw or heard from him ever again. I think later on in the years when Facebook first came out, somehow he connected, reminding me about his brother and his whatever. I remember his brother's names. I confirmed that for him. And then just disappears off my Facebook. Don't know why.
having trouble there, aren't you? The head goes in the other. Simon, help Gwen's friend with his fish.
Oh, I have no idea.
First time. George, why don't you tell us about your day?
Oh yeah, Dad, did you catch that spider guy yet?
No, we didn't catch him yet, but we will.
He just has such a look and like an attitude about him from the president of the Benevolent Association at NYPD, and like, oh, there are so few humans that I feel I can rely on, and I don't really know his career or what he does, but I am just so glad that his face exists in the sea of nothingness and lesser important humans on the planet. He is one of those categorically extremely significant for the NYPD and the Benevolent Association and whatever it is that they do here in the inner city. I mean, I'm in the borough of Queens, and right now I have a president of that I've never met and does not look familial at all. Don't know how that, again.
He's an amateur who's assaulting civilians in the dead of night. He's clumsy, he leaves clues, but still dangerous.
He's assaulting people? I'm not sure. I mean, I saw that video. Him and the car thief, and I think most people would say that he was...
I'm pretty sure if John the Baptist is asking from Jesus's standpoint, it looks like there's a car thief in New York City, although I can't place it exactly at like an airport pilot, like CAR. Maybe it's part of the BS, which I think's a different like Caribbean bound location. And I don't get out much, but I have looked on the Internet of Things to just check out some call signs that looked relevant.
providing a public service.
Most people would be wrong. If I wanted the car thief off the street, he'd already be off the street.
So why wasn't he then?
Let me illuminate you. See, the car thief was leading us to the people who run the entire operation. It's been a 6-month-long thing. It's called strategy. I'm sure you're aware of the term strategy. You've probably heard about that in school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this came out in 2012. Where I am totally not all right with is the fact that there's this piece, which I'm going to rewind back to when they're in the laboratory, and this man with one arm, the scientist, is speaking to someone else inside the laboratory, and they're talking about this vial of substance and wanting to put it out in human trials. I heard some of the other thing about like if a gas was exposed, and then I know where I am at today. I know today the air quality is extremely poor. The weatherman is saying that it's gonna be 91 degrees and really poor air quality. It's been since yesterday. I did go with and walked with Dad and David around the lake today. The smell was not as pungent. It must have been dispersed and like particleized into the air where the particulates were not, where it dissolved. So it didn't have a very pungent odor, but yesterday it was like walking into a plume of it at whatever time I was there.
Well, obviously, he didn't know you had a plan.
You seem to know an awful lot about this case. You know something that we don't know? I mean, whose side are you on here?
I'm not on anyone's side. I saw a video on the internet.
Oh. You saw the video on the internet. Well, then the case is closed.
Well, no, I'm just saying if you watch the video, maybe send you a link. It looks like he's really trying to help.
Yeah, sure. On the internet, he's been made out to look like some kind of masked hero or something.
No, I'm not saying he's a hero. I don't think he's a hero at all.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying he's trying to help, and it looks like he's trying to do something maybe the police can't.
Something the police can't?
I don't know.
What do you think we do all day? Think we just sit around eating donuts with our thumbs planted firmly up our ass? Is that what you think we do down there?
Up your what, Dad?
Howard.
I think he stands for what you stand for, sir. Protecting innocent people from bad guys.
I stand for law and order, son. That's what I stand for, okay? I wear a badge. This guy wears a mask like an outlaw. He's hunting down a bunch of criminals that all...
Like an outlaw or like a luchador? I saw the rendering, and then I've seen some of the Sicario or um I keep saying Sicario. I think it has a different name. I don't know. I saw the movie once. It was the name of the hitman in Spanish. I don't know what it is, but it's a frightening whatever. I was doing one of these. Um,
that all look the same, like he's got some sort of personal vendetta. But he's not protecting innocent people, Mr. Parker.
Let's get some air, Peter.
and then I noticed the spider comes up again in a Marvel way with Black Widow. And has some tie-in with Natalie and Romanoff. I'm like, that is a really interesting weaving between the SEC, the ETF, some spiders, some financiers, and some real cosmic stuff that keeps going unaddressed between, like, the area that houses Jesus and somewhere else has some John the Baptist importance. And then there's a federation at, like, somebody got the wife Kim, the KIM, and the importance there. Don't want Sydney and Kimberly to get upset. I mean, again, Eric and whatever else might be out, Victor. It's a big wide world of possibilities in family mechanics, and I got to figure out some way to kind of, but sort of, but not really say it. And I'm like, I don't know, geographically, there's just some of the calendar events. It just makes sense mixed with some geographical patterns of words that kind of, sort of, but not really are names of things. Of, So now, when the dirtbag from 2010 showed up, um, and then 2011 into 2012, by 2013 somebody showed up. I put up that I had to employ someone for 2012, and oh my gosh, somebody shows up from a place I have never, that was just whatever. And I'm like, that word does not sound like anything I've ever seen geographically. I don't know if it was a tribal, whatever. I know what it's called, but it was a very interesting, and it was definitely not Hispanic. That's for sure. I had an FCC line. I know what the numbers are on it. Of course, everything that I have is FCC, whatever, in this, wherever, and whatever. So, and the phone was very, really under my name. So, I don't know what was said. Again, I don't speak that language, and I wasn't home when the phone calls were being made.
Cross-species genetics is finally working. I've used lizard DNA to help Freddy regrow that limb.
It's a miracle.
No, it's hard work and promise, and it's a step closer to the primate lab.
But he doesn't have time for every little step.
Little?
I just mean he can't wait.
Well, he'll have to. Unless he wants to be a lab rat.
That's not what I'm saying.
So what are you saying?
You have to start human trials. No.
No, I don't.
Now, what bothers me is that very real look looks like what's now inside of New York City out of nowhere. I'm like, why did management change so drastically yet again? I mean, I'm not agreeing to this serfdom where you're bound, but there's no consent and there's no whatever, there's no contractual obligation on my part do any of this whatever, but yet by the front of the US dollar bill on linen, they put the ancestors of that system. But now there's invading forces, and There's some enhancement of financiers being taught about spiders and so on and so forth. So it really does pose additional, along with the cosmic problem that I have with clocks, biological clocks, that should be revered, feared, and treated like gods, but are not being handled correctly because the humans, they go off of some religious book that they really can never even translate or know. They just know in their heart that one day Jesus will return. They just have no idea, since they don't know who his family members are, like where and what branch that's going to come off of. So I, it's like a pagan system, but they don't participate in paganism. And I'm like, you are all just a whole bunch of contradictions depending on who is asking questions. I mean, it is just, whew.
No, I won't.
Oh, then he's going to die.
People die. Even Norman Osborn.
We are not finished.
Human trials. Where on earth are you going to find the people to volunteer?
For what? As far as anyone's concerned, it's for a winter flu shot. I might think the Veterans Hospital is a place to start.
You've got to be kidding me.
I don't think I am. It's a little late for shock and indignation, Kurt. About 15 years late.
I've no idea what you're talking about.
Well, this came out in 2012 and it's now 2023, and someone led us into a pandemic, and some of this showed up saying that it was like general surgeon for my area, visual, whatever, and I see a whole lot of that getting into my hospital system and doing research and whatever, and I'm like, I didn't agree to any of this. So why am I being buried in the Standard and Poor 500? I'm a symmetrical biological clock, and I'm the Rh negative. We're part of the endangered species. And the CERN at Concerned can confirm, quantifiably relatable, like where did the galaxy break? Well, let's start with, I have a position that's really important, that's being bastardized and completely taken advantage of by multiple phenotypes. And I don't really know how to get out of this chair and know where I belong.
Richard Parker wore it well. When you used a cheap suit, as it was then.
I had nothing to do with that.
Is that what you told his son, Peter?
I don't know what you're saying.
You don't know, or you don't want to know? I'll remind you what happened. Richard Parker said just about the same thing then that you are saying now. The clock is ticking, Dr. Connors.
I won't.
Fine. The formula is ours now anyway. Say goodbye to that arm you've dreamed of. I'm shutting it down. Have your office cleared out by the morning. Your toys could be taken away too, you know. Right, Freddie?
Now, this is the frightening part of what I feel I'm experiencing at this point.
I've seen that before.
The Gennady device.
Yeah, I remember a picture of that in my dad's office.
The idea was so simple. You load it with an antigen, it creates a cloud which can be dispersed over a neighborhood, even an entire city. Theoretically, you could cure polio in an afternoon.
That's incredible.
Well, others disagreed. You know, what if the device were loaded with a toxin? What if you wanted to opt out? You can't run away from the cloud after all, so here it lies, gathering dust. What do you see?
And that's where I'm stuck at Standard and Poor. But yet, in the theory, the big toe and the theory of everything, I technically have the spider position. Not that I was supposed to be the index of the standard and the poor, while others are getting like increasingly more callous and more dangerous and growing new billionaire class that seems to be very unruly. And yet, where is this strike of the balance between old wealth and old money, this new class that came out, and then the position for which I was actually born for? Here's a commercial for a new TV show that's coming out with the same actor.
A woman and her 15-month-old child were murdered in their home.
What if this case isn't just a husband who turned against his wife?
An evil presence is in his family.
An evil presence is in his family. What are those, the Knights of Columbus family? The County Kerry Catholics? Just curious. Because from my point of view, their blacksmith with him into my life did not enhance my life or make it any better. In fact, it just got worse. And I have to ask myself, was that a crazy donkey special? Again, I don't know, like, is it safe to even say that you've actually met a seated US president or a president at some point before his seat was actually given? If a private announcement was made, for which I did not make any further announcements anywhere else, because I don't really know what's behind him, what funds him, or any of the agenda items, not from domestic nor from foreign. However, what I do know is my RH standpoint, and I'm one of the ancestors, and I have a star position, which here they're calling it spider. I'm a little frightened of calling it a spider position, only because they've left me in a standard and poor position, which means like I'm at some effect of other humans. I'm victimized by the human race. And I don't know where the safe hand to hold is. I don't. I don't know to trust in the Jesus followers. I don't know why is John the Baptist followers, like, really, are they stepbrothers that get along? And I really don't know how to traverse any of this, being one of the God's children in Eric's area.
Hands up right now! I don't go digging in the past. And neither should you.
So it's called, from FX, it's called Under the Banner of Heaven. Now here there's an exchange between this person and the blonde-haired man with one arm about the zero decay. Again, I said when we walked with David this morning, I said, there's this problem in, there's a whole lot. I said, I told him I had found the Star Trek Insurrections from 1998, for which I had never seen before. And now in this day and age where Lewis is now speaking of near-death experiences and some out of this world knowledge, I'm like, I was not set on the correct path with an education in this language, in this system. I was kind of held in a different way. I was like, but it's interesting that now they've come out with these platforms where they're bringing the highly educated from professorship, like, out and putting them on YouTube. I mean, again, for me, in like a quantifiable realm, or like a quantico, like, with quantum mechanics and thinking about it at a very rudimentary level. Um, More of like a cosmic level of just seeing the threads and relationships of time and space and knowing that something in the position for which I was born, where there's a body, there's a stitch of time that I created in symmetry, which at that level of formula, they know about. But in my day to day life, I don't really have these conversations at that heightened level of knowledge.
I want my room.
So I'm watching the opening of Spider-Man, the one that came out in 2012, and I see how they did the visual graphics. First of all, it says Marvel, and then it says Columbia. And I know the problem person, the blacksmith, arrived in 2010 and was still around in 2012. Um, and he was associated with Knights of Columbus. So that whole group of, I don't know, they're not supposed to be outlaws, but I don't know why they're holding me here. Like, again, maybe that's a conversation to ask somebody in like investment capability or like, um, of like Knights of Malta. And that's the only other knights I've ever heard of, according to Cardinal Timothy Dolan. There's the Knights of Malta, and then there's the Knights of Columbus. Well, if I'm in an area where the Knights of Columbus have hurt my person for whatever reason, if they were privy to information that and then withheld from me, and then like this whole thing broke out, I don't know how to get out of it and around it and get to something that's actually like humanly like looks correct. But this to me looks like strings, like quantifiable, like string theory. These are just formula calculations. I mean, this is what, when you break down market makers at schedules, like that one instance where they were doing the NFL schedule and they had that big board. Again, the calculations look much like strings at some part of the calculations in process in time and space. I mean, computers and supercomputers do it like really fast, but it used to be this was a gift, this was a talent. I mean, this was a knowledge of the really super highly educated and highly sought after. Now with supercomputers and technology going the way that it has, it's really frightening that they put this capability of calculations into just anybody's hands. And they've stolen my calendar, and I have the symmetrical piece of the formula. I mean, I've heard the humans say before, know your worth. I know my worth. I'm the embodiment of space and time in a physical, moving, technological feature. And my time is worth something, but nobody's paying me for it. I see what they did at the beginning of this movie, how they took the baby away, they gave it to Uncle Ben. I see the zero decay formula that he was working on. I see that the house looks very much like the Maple House. Some of the, like this, I mean, again, if you asked my son would say the same thing. Um, it looked like the staircase at the Maple House. It looked like the drapes from the Maple House. It looks like the office from the Row the West Row House, um, like where my 3 sons were being housed, which then became 4 sons. And then I see like the reaction of, it looked like Peter. And then I was thinking about the Matrix and like Follow the Rabbit. I'm like, is that a Peter the Rabbit? Because like I've got a Benjamin Bunny. Like these are like these interlocking features between Jesus and John, and like whatever's going on between Eric and the great beyond. At like family and feudal system. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. I'm going to pause this and I'm going to pull up last night's nightly news, where there are other people like out in Suffolk County trying to block this insurgence of somebody else's model. I don't know like why or how they're getting away with this type of foot soldier invasion, or like rearrangement of geographical pieces. But there are people out there and they are voicing, like, I'm very melodramatic. Like there's no, I'm not going to give away whether I'm traumatized, I'm frightful, I'm happy. Like I'm giving you nothing because you've given me nothing. It's just more like this is just shameful behavior on the parts of, I don't know who's like pushing this the forefront. I'm just disgusted at so many different angles and levels. And then there's like how the humans react, or like the pieces that are not at a G, that weren't issued a GOD position or a spider position or a whatever they're calling it at this point. There's then the rage that comes out of them about this forceful geographical change or redistricting, rezoning. Like I'm not even sure. But before I get to the rearrangement of the humans, they also had on this thing about AI last night on the news. It was on Channel 7.
Problems than that, Liz, and this will completely freak you out. Straight out of Will Smith's I, Robot movie comes this, a very lifelike humanoid robot. It was introduced in London, and guess what? It's controlled, yep, by artificial intelligence. But wait, there's more. When asked what it believes would be a nightmare scenario involving AI and humans, it responded by saying, and I quote, "A world where robots have become so powerful that they are able to control or manipulate humans without their knowledge. This could lead to an oppressive society where the rights of individuals are no longer respected." I'm cutting it short. Hello, anybody worried? Anybody?
Why are we doing this?
Right, exactly.
Why are
They're
we?
telling us. It's like, this is going to happen to you.
We can fully stop it now, so why are we doing this?
Did nobody saw the Terminator movie?
Clear.
There were people inside the process. There was people, there was process, there was protocol, there was efficiency at that level. That's where the government is. That's where the agencies work. That's where the authority works within the people. And there's like this overall sense of community and social part. They've taken all of that away and just installed a whole lot of automation. And now it's become less efficient. And when I watched the Spider-Man movie, I've heard them say before, this argument about, I'm gonna try to find it real quick. I didn't want this to become too long, but, and I hear the argument through a different filter. Like I know how the arguments have been against like Nazism and whatever other words the humans come up with and some construct they studied that I have no idea. When they talk, I'm just like, define it. Build me whatever it is that you're angry about so we can discuss it, because I didn't learn it. Okay, so here's the thing. This goes back to Spiderman 2012. Cross-species genetics. Here's the thing. For me at Rh negative, if you try to cross my genetics with the other species on the planet that's considered an Rh positive, you put my life in danger. You just do. It's whatever, however you want to explain it. It puts my human rights in danger because I have an antigen and an antibody system that is not compatible. It does not compute with the other blood type. But they did not follow safety protocols, and they forced not one, but two that I didn't want, and try to cross-specify my genetics with these two disgusting New Yorkers. So here we are. My children, I absolutely love them. I wouldn't, whatever, they're mine. They're from Cosmic Nursery. I created them. I built them. But what they did in order to get my children here as a human species is absolutely disgusting. Now, this goes into another argument that I've heard mishandled so many times before. It says, a world without weakness. Okay. So, a world without weakness. Oh, that sounds so Nazi. Yeah, okay. The people who speak out of turn and that weren't asked, they're playing Yahtzee Nazi. It's a dicey situation, and I'm not all right with it. Because here's where that argument of a world without weakness comes in. When it comes to your cybersecurity, when it comes to your biogenetic health, when it comes to breathing clean air, drinking clean water, and knowing that you have a chance at survival on this planet without becoming genetically weaker than when you entered it due to biological weapons and biological terrorists that are funding all sorts of projects that you don't even know you're being exposed to. That's where this genetic weakness, like I got no room for genetic weakness, like that's where that really comes in. Because like the day I entered and like I want to feel like a teenager until the day that like I'm taken from this planet. Right now, I feel like I'm in my 80s because I've lost genetic stability and I don't know why. The health professionals are not prepared and they're not really very helpful in their integrative medicine. And I don't know how to get it back on my own. But now I've got like mismanagement on top of other things going on. So that becomes a problem. But where it comes with cybersecurity, and that's where I have no room for weakness. Like that's where you want defenses. So I don't understand why when it comes to like biogenetics, why would you want your body to become programmed to become weaker and to become like a pincushion? Why would you purposely choose that path? Because I hear the humans argue and they sound stupid. I'm like, you're setting yourself up to be standard and poor for a lifetime. And then you're setting yourself up that the stronger are going to be able to take advantage of your weakness mentally and physically. And they're going to try to extort you and enslave you in other ways. I mean, like, what was the population thinking when I arrived? That's my argument. That's my challenge back to humanity, or whatever came before me. I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be enslaved. And I'm definitely not all right with all of these cyber crimes going on. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxies broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.